There's something beautiful about the underdog stories that football creates. You can look at competitions like the FA Cup, which this year pitted 8th tier Marine AFC, a team that some fans can watch from their own backyard, against Tottenham, a team that employs Gareth Bale, who is on a contract worth over 30 million a year and recently built a £1 billion stadium. Of course, Spurs prevailed 5-0, but the game personally raised a few questions. Namely, what's the most lopsided matchup possible in football? On an international scale, the answer is neatly laid out. FIFA has a world ranking system that tells us who is the best and worst team out of the 211 member nations. Belgium are the best and San Marino are the worst. But for club football, let's just say it's a little more difficult. The best is easy. The Club World Cup, though essentially a formality in prior years, having been won by the European representative 13 of the last 14 years, tells us the official answer of the best football team from the year. For example, this year, that team is Bayern Munich. However, when it comes to the worst, there's quite a bit to sort through. There are a lot of teams, and I mean a lot. Fortunately, we can greatly diminish that number by only looking at teams which are eligible for continental competitions, and hence the Club World Cup, the competition that the team I conclude to be the worst has to technically be able to reach. Wikipedia has articles that identify the men's league system of 157 nations, but it should be acknowledged that it doesn't include such records for some notable countries, for example the highest ranked African nation in Senegal. The Senegalese league does exist, Google even covers it. Shout out to Tainguth, who currently top the league, which doesn't appear to be breaking any records for its time, with just 1.86 goals per game for the first 80 games of the season. Back on track by creating a rough estimate for the amount of teams by going through these articles and then adjusting using the average for the 53 remaining FIFA nations. I was able to come up with an estimate of around 95,000 teams that could one day be the best in the world. It would be virtually impossible to sort through a number this large, even when considering that we could whittle this number down significantly by only looking at the worst team in the worst league of each nation. And that's why I'm going to put my own spin on this. It's undeniable that money plays a ridiculously large factor in football. Clubs like Man City, PSG and RB Leipzig provide clear examples of how significant financial investment can catapult a club forward, in a way that more traditional paths of development cannot. Even the worst team in, say, Antigua and Barbuda's third tier could probably become the best team in the world in the 3 years it would take them to win the top flight, followed by winning the Kolkata Champions League the next and knocking off the Champions League winners to round it out, should 17 trillion be invested in the club, allowing them to buy a world-class team full of the best players on £100 million a week each. We saw how top players moved to China for big wages, now multiply those numbers 300-fold, and it's difficult to imagine many turning that opportunity down. So I'm going to define the worst team in the world as the furthest team from success in the world, the team that would be physically unable to become the best in the world for the longest time period, even if they received an investment of a magic money tree paying for everything they could possibly want indefinitely tomorrow. And that takes us back to the home of football, well, specifically the country that invented football as we know it today. Specifically to the 20th tier of English football, a level deep enough that no other country can match it. There are two leagues that go this low, the Central and South Norfolk League Division 4 and the Stroudon District League Division 7. These leagues are mostly made up of reserve teams, but there are 8 clubs whose best 11 play 19 years from the Premier League. Those 8 teams are Bacton, Kolk, Horning, MJ Dons, Northwold, Robinswood, South Creek and South Reps. And the worst team in the world, with a record in the 20th tier of English football this year of played 10, won 1, lost 9 and a goal difference of minus 56 is Kolk FC. Let's learn a bit more about them. Kolk is a small village just south of Fakenham, which is a small town northwest of Norwich. The population was 588 at the last census, and the name appears to be Scandinavian, meaning the Church of Kola, Kola being the person who built or owned the church. There's not too much of note about the town, but one thing I found interesting was the historical game of camping, where teams would fling a ball into their opposition's territory and would be allowed to take prisoners from the other side before the ball was thrown back. In the 1700s, Norfolk and Suffolk apparently played a game of 150 a side, in which 9 people died. Lovely. The town does have playing fields just outside the town. This was the best photo I could find, which looks up to Premier League quality if you ask me. Kolk Football Club themselves have been around for a while. I can find records of them in the league system they remain in today, going all the way back to the 2006-2007 season. They've been in the 3rd or 4th tier for all 15 years, their one promotion coming in 2011, when despite finishing 7th in the 4th tier, they promoted up a league for the following season. Despite being a mid-table team for a few years, even posting a 5th place finish in 2017, when the league re-expanded into 4 tiers, they found themselves relegated the following season, and since then it hasn't exactly been the best of times for the club. In the last 3 years, their record stands played 44, won 3, drawn 2 and lost 39, with a goal difference of minus 176. They lost 7-0 and 6-1 in both cups they played this year, and have been beaten by 6 or more goals in 7 of their 10 league games. Of course, given the limited pool of people from Kolkata, you wouldn't exactly expect them to have a team of world beaters, assuming all their players come from the village. As I mentioned earlier, the population of Kolkata at the last census, which was 10 years ago to be fair, was 588. Given a very slight majority of people in Britain are female, let's assume 291 males live in Kolkata. Now, football participation rates in the UK have been decreasing for a while, having gone down 33% since 2003. A 2019 survey estimated that only around 1.9 million of the 28 million men in England play football. This takes our number down to around 20 adults in Kolkata play football. Given some of those 20 may play for other teams, there's hardly enough to put a squad together. The road to the Premier League for Kolkata would be quite an arduous one. First, they'd have to get promoted to the Central and South Norfolk League Division 1 and win it. Pending a decision by a committee, they would be promoted to the Anglian Combination Division 5 North or South. Should they then progress through 6 tiers and perform well in the Anglian Combination Premier Division, they would then hopefully be promoted as a feeder to the Eastern Counties League Division 1 North or South. Winning the Eastern Counties League Premier Division would result in a promotion to the Isthmian League Division 1 North. Winning that would get them into the Isthmian League Premier Division, where promotion would finally land them in the National League North, where promotion would get them into the National League, which feeds teams into the EFL. So for those keeping track at home, that's far enough that should a Kolkata fan have a child today, and Kolkata immediately progress through the leagues getting promoted every season, that child would be taking their GCSEs by the time Kolkata got to League 2. Personally, I hope to see them there one day.